You're listening to a Peter Gabriel Full Moon Club podcast. This is the first Scratch My Back preview, linking to petergabriel.com.
Hi there, so this is the introduction to the Scratch My Back album. It should really be called And I'll Scratch Yours, because the principle, which many of you may now know, is that it's a song exchange concept. So if you do one of my songs, I'll do one of yours. So that's the theory for getting it going. And it meant we had a lot of interesting dialogue with different artists about what songs to do and how to do them. Heroes for me was one of the great Bowie tracks. I mean, I think Hunky Dory I loved growing up, and it was a sort of different melodic type of Bowie. I loved Low from the sort of atmospheres and moods, but I think Heroes, because it's heroism in the face of oppression. It's something triumphant despite the desperate situation. Obviously it's set in Germany. We tried a few ways of looking at it, and it always felt a bit like a bar band, and I wasn't very happy. And then I started finding some guitar, it's like acoustic guitar samples that became a sound texture. And although one of the rules for the record was not to use guitars or drums, it created enough of a mood. So then, having set up this mood, I think it was around the time that we first met John Metcalfe, and I started thinking, you know, this guy's amazing and I'd love to work with him. And then he took that away, took the vocals off and started putting in his own arrangement. And it's pretty much exactly what he came back with, which I thought was one of the best arrangements, string arrangements I'd ever heard on a rock song. I think it's beautiful because without any drums, without any drive of a normal sort of rock and roll tools, which are obviously a key part of the original song, there's an enormous tension that sort of explodes out, and which is why I've put it to open the record.
Like dolphins can swim, though nothing will keep us together. We can beat them forever and ever. How we can be heroes just for one day. How we can be heroes just for one day. I will be king, and you will be queen. Though nothing will drive us away, how we can be heroes just for one day. How we can be us just for one day.
The second track in is Paul Simon's Boy in the Bubble. It's again one of my favorites. The Graceland album, which was a very big album for lots of people, you know, had this joy, exuberance of the South African music. But what many people didn't notice, and I didn't at first either really, was what an extraordinary lyric this is. I think it's one of the best rock lyrics, pop lyrics written in the last 20 years. But it's quite dark and troubled, and stripped back in the way we've done it. I think you hear the words in a different way, and I got a nice email this week from Paul saying much the same thing. Initially, when I first talked to John about this song and the album in general, I'd asked for very emotional, sparse arrangements, generally. Obviously, we would open it up and let things hang out at certain places, but I really wanted for the songs and the words to speak. And so this one particularly is such an empty arrangement, and I think so much stronger as a result. At a witness benefit, Paul Simon had agreed to come and play, and he actually suggested that he'd like to perform Biko at that without being requested. And so when this project came up, that seemed an obvious choice of song from my material. And Paul is obviously, one of the major American songwriters, and has a huge catalogue of wonderful material and great melodies, musicality, and stunning words. More often than not, when I was trying to go through the catalogue, there were lots of things that were potential candidates. But this stuck out particularly, I think, because of the lyric. But I had looked at Diamonds in the Soles of Her Shoes, and from his latest album were Hearts and Bones and Father and Daughter were other candidates. Father and Daughter being so quite light, but emotive and personal. Boy in the Bubble was where we ended up, and I'm very pleased with the way it's turned out.
It was a dry wind, and it swept across the desert, and it curled into the circle of birth, and the dead sand falling on the children, the mothers and the fathers, and the automatic earth. These are the days of miracle and wonder. This is the long distance call. The way the camera follows us in slow-mo, the way we look to a song, the way we look to a distant constellation that's dying in a corner of the sky. These are the days of miracle and wonder.